All right, you're watching Bare Knuckle Binder. Welcome to the channel. I am badly in need of a haircut, but I am continuing on this series of videos where I'm preparing the 1952 International Harvester L122 with a Coleman 4x4 conversion for a 5,000 mile plus round trip next month, which is October of 2024. Just a quick overview in case you're just tuning in and don't know the backstory, but I found this truck in late 2020 in a junkyard in Northern California. It was picked clean, left for dead for several decades. I fixed it up in 2022, and then I drove it over 2,500 miles home to Texas, where I live. So I'm heading back up to Northern California where I got the truck. I'm meeting up with my buddies, the Holden brothers, awesome dudes. They are driving a 1969 Travelette down from Bend, Oregon. We're meeting in Chico, more on that later. We're meeting in Chico, heading down to Grass Valley for the 2024 IH Sierra Fall Rally. That's in Grass Valley, October 11th through the 13th. Awesome rally. If you want to catch up with us, see these trucks, meet us there. I put all the info for registration and whatever else you need to know about it in the video description. Now, this video is going to be quicker than normal. I was hoping to have more done. I was planning to have more done, but really what it turned out to be was a bunch of prep work this week. And I'm really waiting on items that have been shipped to arrive so that I can get to work with them. But in the name of progress, I did get to the Holden Brothers shop earlier this week and got some tires on rims. Old tires, new tires.
I can go add this to the pallet.
I'm filming you already. Look tall. Suck in. All right. So this is a pallet that the Holden brothers are sending up to 406 Garage for the 69 Travelall Sweet Pea. So got all kinds of goodies, transmission, got a fuel tank. This is actually a donut for sitting on for long trips. I think Willie said he's going to sit on that for most of the trip.
Yeah, Willie calls it a driver locator.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Similar to a donut.
Yeah, and that's this is a spigot for it. You insert that somewhere. So anyway, Tuesdays at the Holden Brothers.
Yeah, getting ready to send this off.
Getting ready to send it.
We have fresh transmission.
This is so that they can run fuel tank and a trailer 40 feet behind them.
Exactly. We only have one fuel tank up there in that thing, and 15 gallons isn't going to make it far. So
Yeah.
we have a saddle tank, so we'll have 30 gallons of gas
Yes.
at 7 miles to the gallon.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Okay.
Hopefully it does better than that.
I think Claudette gets like 12 to 15 depending on elevation and whatever fuel it is, but also I've got a 20-gallon tank in the bed as well as a 15-gallon tank.
Well, we'll see what we got. We'll probably equal out to the same.
Yeah, well,
twice the gas.
we can siphon. We got a long enough hose we can siphon.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, Steven and I spent the morning wrestling with these gnarly tires. These are the old guys. You can see how scooped they are.
Yeah, if you put those on backwards, they'd probably dig really good in the mud.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna put them on my BMX bike and really do some sweet jumps.
Yeah.
So, tire cage, of course, and the same tires basically that were on it, exact same kind. I liked them a lot, so that's what we're going with. I think you guys have 916s as well, right?
Yep.
Specialty Tire of America.
Specialty Tire
there
of
it is.
America. That's what
Yeah.
it is. Yep.
Of course, always use a tire cage. And you're gonna have questions about this, but these are split ring, not split rim. Huge difference. Don't use split rim.
No.
Split rings are totally safe if you know what you're doing. And these are Can-Am tires that we decided we're ultimately gonna put on the Travelall
Yeah.
because they get higher RPMs for.
They're 14, so we keep them clean.
Look at that. Cute. Cool. So yeah, they got a tire machine and everything. Last time I had to break the bead on one of these, it was on a shop press and it was awful. So where Willie got off to, I think he's
YouTubing maybe.
YouTubing.
He needs to be YouTubing.
He's editing. We're in a mad race to see who can put out the most videos before this trip. So anyway, I guess I'll see you back in my garage instead of this amazing 10 million square foot behemoth.
Is this to hold a calf?
Yeah.
Castration time.
That's the first part of any road trip. Oh man. Time to put the wheels on this thing. So my day at the Holdens ran a little late. I got caught up doing some other stuff, so I got to put the wheels on this thing before it gets dark. Sun sets in 10 minutes. So I just got to get after this. I will bring it back when I got it back in the garage. I had to bring it out here to take the wheels off because I've got like a 20-degree incline or something on my driveway. So level ground. Dang, look at those new tires. The drive home, just got them to shred up the stickers. Still got all the whiskers on them. Before I drive them any further, I want to replace the tie rod ends. And then, as you can see, we have the leaf springs that still need to be re-arched. These, I just bolted these up. They're pretty straight. There's a technique where you have to go through and make sure they're on there aligned straight. I talked about it before with this axle, but I don't think I've ever done it on camera, so I'll do that when I get into the Coleman axle. Obviously a new tire on the back as well. I started touching up some paint on the wheels, a little bit of rattle can rebuild. Now you can really see here where the leaf springs are really flattened out, so that's where the re-arching is going to come in. It's going to lift the front of the truck a bit. You can actually see this one is bending pretty much down. These leaf springs are actually starting to become convex, so they really need to be re-arched and reinforced. I will get into this in just a second. The Coleman axle itself, I was planning to take this thing completely out of the truck, go through it, paint it up, clean it up. A, I'm running out of time on this, and B, how the driveway sits and how unwieldy this thing is to move around. I am just going to take the thing and break it down on the sides, on the wheel ends, and get it all rebuilt there. I'll drop the differential where it is, clean it, reseal it, all that happy stuff. But I don't think at this point I'll have time to drag this axle out of here. I did install a winch and a winch plate in my garage that I can drag stuff up this hill. But the thing is with this axle, how it sits, it seems really straightforward with, if I'm going to be removing the springs, that, you know, just pull the thing out of here. But honestly, I've done this before on this, and it's way easier and honestly safer to block the wheels, jack up the truck, remove the springs, and leave the axle exactly where it is, because wrestling this thing into position, especially on a hill, it's like an act of Congress. And on the hill, it's just so much more dangerous. So safety first, then teamwork. But anyway, this thing is gonna stay on the truck for the most part. And then after I have the thing completely reinstalled is probably when I'll start on the differential and the wheel ends. Obviously, there's a chance, like with any project here, that, you know, it might go the other way where I might do the Coleman axle first, but I'm pretty excited to get started on those springs, and I'll show you why. I made a spring re-arching jig over the last week out of just scrap iron and a lot of welds and some springs and an old bottle jack I had laying around. It's sitting on this big chunk of I-beam that I have that I use for an anvil a lot of the times, and it works out perfectly. So instead of just trying to explain to you how this thing works, God, that is possibly the worst weld I've ever done. It's not even stuck to anything. Instead of trying to explain how this works, I think I'm just gonna show you with a piece of scrap iron. All right, so how this works. This is it's a pretty simple thing. I've taken half of a Schedule 40 steel pipe, welded on top of the square tube, made a little channel, springs to return it, got a bottle jack here, and you've got basically, pretend this is a leaf spring going in here. And how you re-arch a leaf spring is you basically run it through here and put a bunch of tiny bends in it. So, tighten that up. So you go along like so, move it ahead an inch, and go through there and keep putting tiny little bends in each of them. And eventually the sum of those bends will re-arch the entire leaf spring. Pretty cool, pretty simple. Nice little jig to have. That said, I have a pair of leaf spring packs. These are front packs out of an R120. They're the same as an L120, which are in the truck right now. Instead of just re-arching these springs though, there's more to it because I have to take the truck somewhere level, get all the measurements of how much I want to lift the truck up, and then I have to get the leaf spring packs off the truck that are on it now and measure where they're at, so that gives me an idea of how much it needs to come up on the spring end. These ones, I'm going to be taking these and combining them with the leaf spring packs that are on there. Possibly this one or this one of the bigger ones for more support, and then one of the stouter, smaller ones. Obviously for support, but also for a little more lift. Now, I don't know if I said this already, but to re-arch these springs, you have to take these spring packs down completely. Like, you have to pry open these pack holders here, take out the center bolt, and just basically take these all down to single leaves. Then you go through and re-arch each of them. And I'm gonna go through the whole measuring process in the next video. Just don't have time to get into it now. I do want to say that I learned about this from my buddy Seth, who runs the Red Eye Garage YouTube and Instagram account. He does a lot of Jeep and Willis stuff, but he uses a tubing bender. But I had all this scrap in a bottle jack sitting around, and I got a welder, so I figured I could do it at least as well as that, have a pretty unique little jig set up. So, and I've already got friends asking to borrow it, so pretty cool. A couple more things to talk about on the truck real quick. I actually have spare tires now. The first time we went across the country with this truck, I did not have spare tires, just had prayers. Those worked out for the time being, but it's nice to have something in reserve. I'm planning to mount the spare tire here. I think it looks great. I was thinking about putting another one over there. Reason being for that is because this one, if you remember back to the original videos, I had some problems with some wheel spacers. Now, if you weren't following along at that point, all those videos are in a playlist. Look for the L122 4x4 playlist, and it'll go through everything, start to finish with this truck. But there's Coleman wheel adapters for the rears, and why they had those was because the front rims are open center. They just clamp on over those giant Coleman hubs. These are not hubcaps. These are giant domes. That's like 1/4 inch steel. These are just traditional IH6 50s rims with the hubcap on there, painted black to kind of, you know, duplicate the look of the Coleman on the back. I think it looks really good. Anyway, I had the Coleman rear adapters so that I only had to have one spare, but those wheel adapters were a problem immediately, and I eventually broke a stud on them. They didn't even make it 40 miles down the road, and I've been running these ones for probably, you know, the whole time, probably like 10,000 miles or so. So I have one of these, but then I need a spare with an open center if I'm gonna have one. I could get another spare and put it over there. Now the problem that I'm running into with that is that I have a fuel tank that goes back here, and it will fit with one tire, but it won't fit with two. So I had to figure that out. I would have to decide if I want to make a custom fuel tank. I can, you know, do an acid wash on the fuel tank and then cut it and then weld it shorter so it fits between two tires. Or I can try to find a different fuel tank to fit in there, or I can just take one tire and a spare tube in case one of these goes bad. That's one of the really cool things about split ring rims, is that you can actually service them yourself out on the trail somewhere. They were made for that. You don't need a whole ton of tire presses and crowbars unless that bead is just stuck on there, which these ones, we just mounted them. The bead should be easy to get off if we needed to. So it's just a decision I have to make. I have 1940s era IH saddle tanks, and I think they hold like 20 some gallons. And you know, they're not super easy to find, but they have been seeming to find me a lot in the last few years, so I have several of them. I have more than I'm probably ever going to use, and so I could feasibly cut one to work on this truck for road trips and stuff like this. So anyway, it's just one of the things I'm looking at. Now, another thing that apparently Instagram has lighted me up about is how low this muffler hangs, and I talked about it in the first video, and I talked about my to-do list. So yeah, I think it's probably time that I address this. So I don't know if that's going to be in the next video, but I'll get it done soon for the trip. That brings me to this transfer case declutcher. So I mentioned earlier that I had parts transfer case lined up that I was going to try to grab the declutcher off of and run it on this. I have not been able to close that gap logistically yet. So my plan of action right now, as much as I hate to say it, is Della is sitting still right now. Obviously not going on the trip, not doing anything while I'm gone. So I was going to grab the declutcher off the T32 that's in Della, the S160 4x4, pop it in this truck just for this trip. And hopefully when I get back, I can, like I said, close the gap on the logistics with the other transfer case, and hopefully someday get this one machined and corrected. So now, one thing I'd like to say about this trip with Holden Brothers and myself is that I'm meeting up with them in Chico. That's at least the tentative plan right now. And the reason we're going to Chico, of all places, is that this truck was at one point resold in Chico at a dealership called Paul M. Smith. Paul M. Smith had an international truck dealership from the late 50s to the late 60s, and he was very active. Now, if you're in Northern California and you're into international trucks, you have most likely at some point seen a Paul M. Smith tagged international truck. And I don't know what year their tags started in, so I don't know exactly what year this truck was traded in, but I have been doing some deep dives. This is actually one reason I'm late with this video, is that the time I should have spent editing, I was on a deep dive in an online newspaper archive going through a bunch of Paul M. Smith ads in which they advertised really notable used international trucks they had for sale, in the hopes that I could find something about this truck. I haven't found anything yet, but I'm still going through there. So with the amount of stuff that I've found about Paul Smith and the dealership, I will definitely be doing a video almost entirely about that, because I want to track down the history of this truck. As dramatic as it sounds, this truck's history is shrouded in mystery. So I'm trying to unravel that as best I can. This truck did not have a title when I got it. I had to apply for a new one, so any information with an old title was lost. All I have is the dealer tags, and stuff I can basically somewhat surmise and suppose and trace back with how this thing was put together. That's why we're meeting up in Chico. I want to find the location of the old dealership. Then on the way from Chico to Grass Valley to go to the rally, we're going to take a slight detour up a mountain to the Dobbins Oregon House area of California, to the now defunct junkyard where I found this truck, Claudette, and Della, my S160 4x4. Basically, I could say two trucks that changed my life and are the reason why the internet knows about me. So we're gonna go visit that, see where this truck sat forever. It'd be cool to bring this truck back there and just see it in its old haunt. Then we're gonna go to see our fall rally. We'll be getting there Friday afternoon, God willing. And then on Sunday, when the rally wraps, we will be driving from Grass Valley, obviously, back to Texas, making stops all through Nevada, Utah, Colorado. We were talking about doing some meetups on the way home. I think we might be able to pull off one or two. It's kind of presumptuous to try to plan stuff like that, and I know that from experience because I've tried to do it before. When you're on a trip like that, you go at the truck's pace, and at this point, it might not be Claudette so much as Sweet Pea, their travel-all, because that travel-all has not been on the road in decades. This truck, I mean, I would drive it to California tomorrow. I know I would make it, but I'm just trying to get all this stuff sorted out to make it better. You know, we don't want to make a bunch of plans for meetups and then not be able to make them. So that said, I do know that we will be in Baker, Nevada on a certain night, and I will actually be playing a solo acoustic show there. So if you want to see these trucks and hear me play guitar, I'll put the the info on the screen. And then on the next night, we'll be in Moab. I think we're doing a trail ride that night with some Utah locals have offered to take us on a really cool trail ride. I mean, clearly we're not trying to get rock crawling or climbing on these trucks because we still have to drive them at least 1,000 miles home at that point. And we're not trying to break completely impossible to fix stuff. But we're trying to go on a really cool trail ride, either sunset or sunrise or possibly both. So the night that we'll be in Moab, put that on the screen. And then the next night we'll be in Durango, and I think we'll have some time to kill in Durango. I'm not for sure. But if there's anybody around the Durango area, Durango, Colorado, let us know. And it's possible that we'd want to get into something that night as far as like, you know, going on a cool, you know, low stress trail ride and seeing some cool scenery. So beyond that, we've also got a shirt that commemorative shirt, Backroads Binders, that we're selling to raise funds for this trip. And I will put the link in the video description. It's really cool. I think Willie Holden designed it, or he kind of took the lead on designing it. So really cool shirt. I think they're gonna run it until the end of October. Limited edition, obviously. This is not gonna be for sale for longer than probably a month or so. So anyway, check that out. It helps us defray the cost of doing something epic and awesome like this and sharing it with everybody on YouTube. So I guess I gotta wrap up this video, but I had to get out of the sun because I feel like I'm half vampire, I can't see. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned these. These are the new old stock tie rod ends that I got from Shay at Pre-60s Vintage Automotive Supply. I talked about him in the video where I talked about my checklist. These original new old stock, made in USA. Made in USA, and we're still proud of it, you know? Anyway, those will be going on the truck before I drive it any further because I'm not trying to chip up those front tires. I've got some much more involved videos coming up. The next video with the springs and the axle and everything. Basically, I'm gonna get done with filming this video, edit it, pop it up on YouTube, and then just start wrenching. So, lots of cool stuff coming up. Once that front end is done, I mean, that's most of it. I mean, really, for that truck, other than like that transfer case thing, which is like a bolt on, bolt off kind of thing. I do have transmission stuff to talk about. Let's get into that real quick. This is a T9 4x4, dual PTOs. You can see right through it. This is a traditional T9. You can see there's no PTO on that side. Over here in this box, I have all the innards of the 4x4 T9. They're exactly the same as a normal T9. The only difference is that opening on the case. So I just took this thing completely apart, cleaned everything out. Now I got to put it all back together. I would have had it together already, except I am stripping the case and I want to paint it with PR15. But let's see, let me get through the muck of this bench. Oh, the garage is getting cleaned out. This bench seems to be more of a disaster somehow. For some reason, there's a fishing pole on here. This, however, is the rebuilt, resealed Aero Gear Company PTO drive for the winch. And then there's a winch gasket set. And there's some bare knuckle binder decals. I think I should get more made for the trip. That's really it for this week. I just have to get this video up. I feel like this video and last video were a little quick, not as much done as I wanted to. Some of the parts I'm waiting on are fabric related because the shifter boots for the transmission, these are the rubber ones I have for the transmission shifter, but there's a hole in it. So I figured maybe if I'm sewing up vinyl or Cordura boots for the transfer case shifters, then I might as well do it for the transmission shifter as well. This is, hold on a second, this is the throttle boot I was talking about, and that is also torn up a bit. I thought it was in better condition. So I found a supplier for those. I've got one of those that should be here today. I think it was supposed to be here yesterday, but like I said, I've just been waiting on delayed shipping and delayed shipping and delayed shipping. So anyway, that's a really cool, boring story, isn't it? So I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Can't wait to show you this truck all put together, sitting on re-arch springs, and this trip is gonna be awesome. So I'll talk to you soon. See you in the next video.